How we doing?
Good, man. Welcome to the studio, brother.
Thank you, man. I like it. It's really cool. It's a very nice place you got up here.
Very much appreciate that.
Yeah.
This is View from the Fence Post, first episode after the holidays, and we're excited to be back with an acquaintance. We were actually introduced through a friend of mine, Derek Rowan, who's been on the podcast.
Yeah.
We have Marcus Allgood in the studio today. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, I was happy that Derek reached out to me and reached out to you and got us together. I think it's gonna be a good podcast here.
That guy, he's a connector, man. He's always moving and shaking. And I swear he calls me or texts me like twice a week with something, something he's working on, somebody that he wants me to get in front of, for some reason.
Yeah. And
I really do appreciate Derek. And his podcast episode was really great, and hearing his story as well.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm glad to have you, man. This is sort of a special Friday that we're recording a week ahead of some really exciting things that you have going on as well.
Yeah.
So,
yes, sir.
So Marcus is an owner of soon to be opening up coffee location in I'll let you tell.
It's in Daphne, Alabama, on Highway 98 and 64 and 98, and it's called Summer Moon Coffee, and it is a franchise out of Austin, Texas, that we have bought into, and we found it through Kelly's sister, my wife's sister, and when we heard about it and when we started researching it, it just aligned with all of our goals and our kind of like it aligned with our spiritual side and our financial side, and the family was super nice, and just everything about it just connected with us. So we decided to move forward with it and bring some of the best coffee around to Daphne from Texas, and it's gonna be an amazing time for sure.
That's really cool, man. We look forward to hearing more about that and just hearing some of your story and your backstory and all that good stuff and how you got from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's start with an icebreaker, man. What? Tell me, what do you do for fun?
For fun, I like to golf, and most people think I'm crazy, but I love working out, and I have my own garage gym now, and I wake up at 4:30, 4:45, and just brush my teeth and get out there and hit the garage for an hour, maybe an hour, 10 minutes, and then get on with my day. But it's something I have to do, and if I don't do it, my wife's like, "You haven't worked out today, have you?" And I was like, "No." She's like, "Don't skip it. Just keep going. Just get up and go do it." It's just one of those things that it really it sets my day. It sets my tone of the day, because if I can get through that hard workout, then I can get through the rest of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And you feel great. Right?
Yeah.
Just getting going.
Oh yeah. I always feel better. Like today I tell myself, everybody's got that little guy in the back of their head. Like, just stay in bed. It's nice and warm in here. Just stay there. Just curl back up. And you have to fight that little guy. And once you beat that guy, you've already beaten the day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you mentioned your wife. Tell me a little bit about kind of your family dynamic.
So we have 2 kids. We have 2 little girls. One's 9 years old, or she's about to be 9 in February. Kelly would not want me to age her. And then our other little daughter is 5 years old. And Kelly and I have been together like 15 years, and we've been married 11 years, coming up on 12 in April. So, and then we met in Austin, Texas, and back in the day when we were still out partying and having a good time, and we had some mutual friends that kind of connected us. We both worked at Sprint at the time, and we didn't know each other. We worked at different stores, and one of our friends brought us out together. And ever since then, it was almost like, I don't know, it wasn't like love at first sight, because we kind of fought, but we connected pretty fast after the arguing was done. We connected pretty fast, and it grew from there, and it's been pretty special ever since.
That's awesome, man. Well, on the phone, I think it was yesterday, we talked for a little bit, and before the podcast today, we got to know each other, and I heard some of your story, which I'm really excited to have shared here with the audience. But you did tell me something that was really, I thought, unique and interesting about yourself. One thing that you said most people wouldn't know about you initially, just from meeting you.
Yeah, it's basically, since my wife has this really cool last name of Allgood, who doesn't want that name? But it took a lot of thinking on my part, and a lot of talking with her and her parents. But my last name when she met me was George. And through that, my mom had married my father had passed, not passed away, but my father left and before I was born. So I didn't know him, didn't know anything about him, didn't really get to go meet him. I saw his parents every once in a while when I was growing up, but that was so young when I don't even really remember that much. And so when we were talking about getting married, I was like, do you want the name George? Like, I'm not tied to George. Allgood's way cooler. I mean, I would love to talk to your parents about it and see if we could carry on the name of Allgood to our kids. And we didn't have kids yet. And deep down inside, I knew I was gonna have girls. So I was like, let's live at least one more generation to keep that going. And so she agreed. She thought it was really cool, thought it was really great idea. And I went to her dad and asked him, and he thought it was a good idea too. And so when we got married, I took the Allgood name just to keep it going. And the George name, the guy my mom married, I don't even know who that is. Like, I think he left when I was like 2 or 3. So I'm proud and happy to be able to carry on the Allgood name, and the family is very, very special to me, and they've been very helpful. And her dad's been like a dad to me for the past 15 years. Teaches me a lot of things, and keeps me sane.
Well, I'd say that's pretty cool, man. And yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's really neat.
Yeah, thank you.
So before we get into where you are today, with with Summer Moon opening up soon and all that good stuff, let's kind of paint the picture of the backstory a little bit. So maybe how you grew up, where you grew up.
So I grew up
career pursuits, so like on the way here, right?
Right. I've had tons of career pursuits, and
man, let's hear them.
Yeah. So basically, my mom, I lived in Iowa from like 6th grade to freshman year in college, and I don't like the snow. I don't like the cold. I don't like any part of it. Like I love the humidity. If I could just live down, I mean, if I could go to Miami, I'd be okay. But Kelly said it's too far. I was like, as long as we're living past, we both agreed we got to live below I-10 because it doesn't snow below there. So ever since freshman year in college, I was like, I have to get away. I have to go somewhere. And I applied to Arizona State, LSU, and Oklahoma State. And LSU and Oklahoma State accepted me. And when I first started out, I thought I wanted to do architecture. And then I got to Oklahoma. I went to Oklahoma State. I figured LSU was too close to New Orleans and probably too much of a party school, and I'd probably just fail out. And so I picked Oklahoma State, and it was a party school too. So I think like every college is a party school. It just depends on what friends you hang around. So
true story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I went to Oklahoma State, and the first semester I was there, they told me that I was going to live in the architecture building. I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. So I need to find a new major. And so I asked the guy down the street or down in the dorm from me, I was like, what's your major? He's like, business. I was like, well, what do you do with business? He's like, you could start your own business. You could do like different things. I was like, well, that sounds kind of cool. So I went to the counselor the next day and changed my major to business. And I actually liked the classes. I was having a lot of good success at it. And then came down to my senior year, and they asked me, what do I want to change my major, do anything? And I was like, well, how many hours do I have for a business degree? And they were like 15. I was like, well, how many for a marketing degree? And they were like 12. I was like, well, give me the marketing degree. It's like, yeah, school early, because I didn't want to do the 15 credits. I was trying to like just get through school and graduate.
100%,
yeah. And so now, of course, marketing between 2000 and 2022 is 100 times different than what it was back then. And so after Oklahoma State, I jumped into car sales because I was telemarketing back then to get through school, and I really loved sales. And that's kind of why I took like the marketing route. Most of my marketing classes were geared towards sales and not advertising, which a lot of times people get the advertising and marketing, they think it's like one thing, but it's two separate things completely. And so I started taking the sales classes I liked, and just kind of it kind of tied in not philosophy, but psychology and business together, because I thought I'm really interested in the mind also, like how the mind works, and like not like playing tricks on people, but how you can convince somebody to do something with not being super manipulated or an evil way, you know. And so that really helped me out. So I was telemarketing at the time.
So influencing decisions.
Yeah,
right?
there you go.
Like,
That's a better way to say it.
Studying behavioral tendencies and motivations behind why people make decisions and things like that.
Exactly. And I think that's really carried on to the way I am now about working out and things like that. But after college, I sold cars for a little bit and then kind of got like a conscience on the cars. I was stickering people, like making some really good money. And then I saw how much money I was making and I was like, man, I could give these people a better deal. And then not till about a few weeks ago when I was talking with one of my daughter's moms, she's in the car business as a finance lady, like head of finance. And she goes, you can't think that way. I was like, I didn't like the markup. She goes, everything's marked up. Why are you going to cry about it? I was like, you know what? You're 100% right. I don't know why I got a conscience on stickering people, like, but because everything's marked up, like your clothes, like the water bottles. Like you'll go to a football game and pay $5 for that water bottle when you know you could get it for 25 cents at Walmart, but you're happy to pay it because you need the water, you know? So that really kind of changed my outlook on that. So it's going to help me, of course, in Summer Moon and any future endeavor for that. But then we moved to Austin, Texas, and that's where I did cell phone sales for a long time. And that really taught me a lot about just people in general. It was more retail sales. It wasn't outside sales. It was retail. So started out like a small company, and then we went to a little bit bigger company. Then I went to Sprint, and then I got my buddy hired at Sprint, and we excelled at Sprint. We actually liked it a whole lot, and I was next in line. I made it all the way up to assistant manager, and I was next in line to be manager. And then Kelly had to move away for her job. She's an air traffic controller, and so she moved to Lafayette, Louisiana, and I followed her 6 months later, and that killed my Sprint career. And so I had to come up with something different. I was at Sprint over there, but it was a store that was super slow, and it actually closed like 3 months after I quit. That store closed down. So I tried banking for a little bit. That was, let's just say, very slow and not very high paced. I'm more of a high paced, high energy kind of guy. And banking was very, very slow, and just, I didn't, kind of like what you do in the wealth management side. Like you have to dig deep into people's lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I didn't want to go that deep. I like people, but I didn't want to go that deep. It was too much for me to want to deal with, like other people's death and things like that.
Like religion, politics, money, like the three, like taboo. Let's not talk about that. We just met, kind of thing.
Yeah, and you got to go into that. You got to go into all of it, you know. And so it just wasn't. It wasn't my avenue. It's not the kind of friendships that I wanted to make and the avenue I wanted to take. And I got hired at the oil field and started doing some inside, like basically it was manufacturing. And so I was doing the computer work it was called Peachtree. It's kind of like a QuickBooks. And I was inputting all the data, learning how to do the accounting side of it and doing all that stuff. And I got to the point where it's like the same 5 people in the office. And I was like, what am I doing in my life? And I was starting to make mistakes because I just wasn't paying attention. I wasn't having fun, wasn't liking it. And Kelly and I went on vacation to Destin, and we came back, and my boss is like, well, glad you're back, but you reached your 1 year and you're fired. I was like, oh, okay. And I was upset about it for a little bit, but I realized like how many mistakes I was making. It wasn't for me. I didn't like hanging out with the same 5 people. I really enjoy talking to other people. I miss the retail side of things. People always coming in, you get to meet new people and talk to them. And so then I kind of started out like doing some personal trainings because I was doing CrossFit. I started CrossFit in like 2010 and started doing some trainings in 2011. And then Kelly came up for basically being able to move somewhere else. So we were trying to debate on we wanted to move to Houston, if we wanted to move to Pensacola or Fairhope, because her parents just moved over here. Like the year we got married, they moved over here. And we were like, well, what do we do? And I was like, man, we just went to the beach. The beach was super nice. And before that, I didn't like the beach because I only knew about the beaches on the East Coast, like in Massachusetts, and then Galveston and Corpus Christi and South Padre. It's like, compared to here, those are very not nice beaches. I mean, it's a beach, but it's not like the nice white sandy beaches we have here. And so we picked over here, and her mom kind of got her hired at Pensacola because it was at that time it was a hard facility to get into. It's kind of like the retirement facility. The old timers would go there once they had a couple years left just to chill out and hang out. But it's still a super busy airport. Like, it's really busy with the 3 Navy bases.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved over here, and first we got married, and I asked her to marry me in Lafayette, and we got married in Houston, and then we moved over here. Like 2011 we got married, and we moved over here in 2012. So a year after we got married, we moved over here. 2014 is when Harper was born, and we were living in Pensacola at the time, and I opened up a CrossFit gym, and we took some of our Sprint money stocks that we had and said, let's open this gym. This is how much money we're putting in. If it works, it works. And we ended up having that we never put any more money into it. And I had it for 7 years. I ended up selling it in 2020 once we moved over here, and I drove back and forth for a year, and it wasn't making any sense to keep it. So that brought me to real estate, and then did real estate for about a year and a half. And it goes back to missing people. I was cold calling, like I was doing everything you're supposed to do, like cold call, going to lunches, doing everything. And it just didn't resonate with me. I missed that social interaction of just talking with people, not trying to sell them something, just hanging out, having a good time. And with real estate, everybody you see, be like, hey, you want to buy a house? You want to sell your house? Oh, you don't want to give me $10,000 for helping you? Oh, okay. Move on from that. And it was just more of like a money grab, it felt like, instead of I wasn't helping people. Because I opened the gym to help people and change people's lives. And yes, in real estate, you can change people's lives, but it wasn't the kind of life that I was trying to help them change. And then with real estate came the COVID and all that good stuff. And then Kelly's sister over in San Marcos told her about Summer Moon. And this is where Summer Moon comes in. And the funny story is Kelly had already been drinking Summer Moon with her sister over in San Marcos for probably about 2 or 3 years, since 2017. And her sister's Kristen. Kristen calls up and is like, hey, I know Marcus just sold the gym. I don't know if he's wanting to get into something else or not, but I think it'd be a really good opportunity for y'all to look into. Summer Moon is franchising. They just started franchising like May of 2020. And this is like June when she's telling us. And her sister had already talked to him, but she doesn't want to leave Texas, and they weren't franchising for Texas anymore. So she's like, I don't know if they're going to come into Alabama or not, but find out. And so Kelly comes to me, and I was like, well, babe, Ricky Caruth says that I need to get my real estate career going, have it where I need to be, then I can start doing other things. And that was maybe like 2 or 3 months into real estate. And I was like, so let's not do it yet. And she's like, okay. Then she comes to me like the next day, and she's like, I really want to talk to him about Summer Moon. And I was like, fine, just talk to him. Let's just see what it takes to get a franchise, because I'm thinking like McDonald's style, like $1 million net worth, all this crazy stuff. Just we weren't there financially to take on one of those. And then with McDonald's, you got to buy into like 5 or 6 at a time. You can't just take on one and see how it goes, And so she reached out, and then probably November is when the CEO at the time, Ben, he reached out to me. He had already been talking to Kelly. Then he was trying to get a hold of me. And then I was trying to talk to him, but I was picking up my kids at the same time from Bayshore, and my phone kept dropping calls. It was really, really weird. And then I would try and call him, and it wasn't working. And then we'd try and call me, it wasn't working. And I just let it go. I was like, it's probably not meant to be. Something's not meant to be. And that night, I'm pretty sure it was that night, her dad had an aortic aneurysm burst in his chest. And so basically, he ended up in the hospital at Thomas Hospital. He had a 2% chance of living. And he ended up living, and he had to go to Houston. Kelly had to take him to Houston to get these stents put in, this emergency surgery pretty much. And the good thing is we put everything on pause. I put real estate on pause for a little bit, and we just took care of them when he came home, took care of her mom when when she was busy with him, and it was just like so much had changed, life changing. Like she quit photography, like she did everything changed. Like our life did 180 like real fast when that happened, and we moved over here to take care of them. You know, that was like the main drivers. Like if we moved to Pensacola, we can take care of them because they're like 67 now. When they moved over here, they were like 55, 56, still young, you know, still doing the garden thing, and now they're getting older and they need help. And so then in July of 21, Kelly comes to me and is like, hey, how about Summer Moon? I was like, yes, let's do it. I do not want to do real estate anymore. And I was like, I'm tired of it. Like I would, if I want to do it, I want to do it on my terms, and just, I don't want it to be my full term thing. If somebody needs my help, I'll help them, but I'm not going to do cold calling anymore. I'm not going to just beat down everybody that I see. I just want to make friends. I don't want to be known as the guy that just, he only wants to talk to you for real estate. And so Kelly reached out, took a couple tries. We talked to Ben, and then Ben and I probably had like 5 or 6 different calls, make sure this was the right thing I wanted to do. And he kind of knew my story about the gym and like how I was kind of tired of kind of like the retail side at first, and then growing after the year and a half of not having it, I really, really missed it. And like, you know, you don't miss what you don't have. Or no, the other way around.
Yeah, you took it for granted, right?
Yeah, I took it for granted, for sure. 100%. And so here we are. July, let's call it July 21, and it's January 2023. And next week, January 21st, we are having the grand opening. Mm-hmm. We remodeled the beautiful space. We're going to have a drive-through. We met the family back in January of 21, and it was January of 2022. And it's such an amazing family. Like they have the same values we do. Their kids go to classical Christian schools. Our kids go to classical Christian Bayshore. It was just a very good pleasure just to hang out with them and talk with them, and just to know that our values align with them. And even the CEO, he said, like, we're not looking for franchisees to buy the next yacht. We want them to, you know, join in mission trips or, you know, give back to the community. Like, what can they give back to help other people, not to go buy the next BMW or the next boat or something like that. And that's what Kelly and I live by. Like, we still drive. My truck's a 2012, 200,000 miles. She gets the newer car because she drives back and forth to Pensacola all the time. But we don't go buy super fancy cars. I mean, anybody could do any of that. You know, you can go in debt, but we live more of like a cash lifestyle. And of course, this is a little different with the Summer Moon, but it's going to pay off in the long run. And we're super pumped to bring it to Daphne. I know that was a long story, but
no, that was great, man. And there was, you know, I took a couple of notes here, but man, I think it's really interesting that that you were in college and you changed your major, sort of, I would say, like in the 11th hour.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like a spur of the moment. I just walked up and said, "Hey, man, what's your major?" He's like, "Business." I was like, "Sounds good. Let's do it."
And that happens a lot. Like you hear about that like a lot, right?
Yeah.
In college, kind of mid-cycle, just totally switching gears because you walk in the front door with a plan and plans change.
Oh yeah.
And then for your next, you know, 20 minutes or 15 minutes of what you were just telling me, you know, with business, marketing, sales, cell phone, banking, accounting, gym, real estate, summer, like that looks a lot like my background.
Yeah.
It was trying to figure out where I fit in or what fit my personality or my mold for a long time. But I do know people who got their job right out of college, and that's been their job since
and they
college.
love it.
And I can't even fathom what that would be like. I'll
probably
get on this podcast one day and tell a little bit of my story. I haven't yet, but it looks a lot like that.
Yeah,
it really does.
And I've thought about it. I used to envy people like that. I was like, how did you know what you were supposed to do? Because I mean, I'm like, when I had the gym, I would get to the point where I was thirsting for knowledge. I was like, there's got to be something else out there for me. Like, what is out there for me? And that's when I read like 35 books in like 1 year of like self-improvement books, business books, like all sorts of different things, just to try and figure out what was out there for me and what I was missing. And so I couldn't fathom, like you said, getting out of school and doing that exact thing. Like, how did that person know that was their gift or what they were supposed to do?
Right.
You know?
What would you say, because it takes quite a resolve to keep pushing through and learning a brand new thing and then a brand new thing and then, you know, being open to try this next thing that someone recommended to you. What would you say your key motivator was that was driving you to keep pushing until you were successful?
A lot of things. It's just that drive of, I knew there was something else out there. Like all the jobs that I've had, I knew there was something better. I always knew something was better. And my mom actually told me when she was alive that I needed my own business. And she would always say I needed my own business in like woodworking, because I was in like wood shop, and I would make I made a desk and some cool mirrors and things like that. But it was just never, it's a cool hobby, but I just didn't, it's not my gift. It's not my gift. It's a cool hobby. Like I liked it, but it just wasn't me. And she kept saying, you need your own business. You need your own business. And I tried a few back in the day. Like we had a website that me and my buddy ran it was called ATX Nightlife. And we were behind the curve. Like we didn't know what we were doing, but we were behind the advertising curve. I mean, we were getting like 1 million hits on this website, but we were trying to get the bars to advertise on the website because we were basically promoting their drink specials. And people had their home screen as our website on their computers, so that way they could check the drink specials that night, and we would update it weekly or whenever they changed. But we were trying to get them to advertise. We weren't getting other businesses to advertise on the website, or like radio stations to advertise, or wealth management, like, you know, because you know those people, we were targeting the wrong we went for the wrong advertising group. And so ultimately it failed because we weren't bringing in any money at that point, but we had the business and we had the model. We didn't know what we were doing. So I had that, and I had a different website that would link you to, CEO is probably gonna hate me for this one, but it would link you to information on how to get steroids. And so it was like a membership site. I learned from a guy that he was doing, it was called Border Pharmacy, and he would link you to pharmacies to get like Valium and things like that, prescription drugs that you couldn't get here in the United States without a prescription, but you get them from like Indonesia and stuff. So he had it behind a paywall. So he wouldn't let me do that, but he taught me how to do the steroid one. And I tried that for a little bit, and I don't really know what happened with it. I don't know why I quit that one. And then we did ATX Nightlife, and then this is while we're still working at Sprint, or Pinkies and Sprint, and then we dissolved that one. And then what was it? So I've always had my hands in some kind of business. I was always trying. Like you said, it's always the start. Like, how do you go back to what makes you want to start up again and try again? And it's just one of those, it's the drive knowing that there's something else out there for you. Like, if you don't have that feeling, I don't know what to tell you, but that feeling is an amazing feeling when you do have it. And it's such a motivator, and it's so exciting to see like your project come to fruition. And even if it fails, you have to learn something from it. And I learned everything that failed in my life. I've learned something from it. And that's what's brought me here.
You have to.
Yeah. And that's what's brought me here, to be able just to even think about opening Summer Moon and being able to manage 18 people. I had to take care of myself first and figure out who I was. And like I said, reading those 35 books, those self-help books, and those like listening to Les Brown, listening to motivation. When I was in the gym, when I first opened it up, it was like 2 or 3 months into it, I found like not podcast, but I just typed in motivation on YouTube, and like Les Brown came up, and Joe Rogan would have stuff, Zig Ziglar, Wayne Dyer.
Zig. Yeah, I love some Zig Ziglar, man.
Yeah, all them, like they would all come on there and talk, and people would come into the gym and like, why are you listening to this? I'd be cleaning the floors. I'm like, because there's nobody above me. Nobody's going to tell me I'm doing a good job. And these guys are telling me I'm doing a good job by listening to them. You know, I'm on the right path. And so that really built up my confidence on knowing that I was doing the right thing, and I'm running the business. I had some failed ones, but I learned from those failures, and I'm implementing them into this gym business. And now, from everything I learned from all those businesses, I get to implement into Summer Moon, and then all the businesses like Sprint and the bank and all that stuff. One quick thing with the small stint at the oil field, that helped me out with QuickBooks. So I knew how to do QuickBooks at the gym. And now I don't have to do QuickBooks with the Summer Moon because I'm going to have a bookkeeper. But now I'm going to know what's going on with QuickBooks when I go to look at it, or I can see what he's doing because I learned it from the oil field. Like, you always learn something. You just don't know what it's for yet.
Yep.
But it's going to happen. You're going to know. You're going to figure it out later on.
Who would if you had to pinpoint, who would you say your biggest influencer or encourager has been in your career pursuit thus far? The person that has driven you the most, or put their arm around you and said, "You got this," or maybe it was at a set of an events that got you here. But
well, I was thinking about it last night, and you could attribute it to the books or the mentors. I think I've had not really like a full on mentor. Like, I paid a guy to help me out with the gym. You got the like Les Brown, all those guys. Like, I mean, you can call them mentors because they are helping you. You just haven't met them personally or anything like that. And going through all that, and I started thinking, like, who would I pick? And it's actually my wife.
Yeah.
Like, she is the one that believed in me. She's the one who led me down the right path. She's the one who told me to open the gym and told me she's the one who tells me I'm doing a good job. Even though, like, she's still the wife, and you're like, you just have to say that. But I really genuinely think that she 100% believes in everything that I do, and brings, like, I'm almost to tears just even talking about it. But it's just, I mean, we're best friends, and we're husband and wife, and we could stay on the phone, and we still do. We'll talk to each other for an hour before she gets home, just to talk more when she gets home, And so she's the biggest motivator I've had in my life. And ever since I met her is when I really took a big turn in direction. And it was 1 year after we got married that I decided that I had to get sober, because I don't drink anymore. I don't take any prescription pills. Like, if the doctor gave them to me and I like broke my arm, I'd probably take them, but I try and stay away from everything. And she's been the biggest motivator to keep me away from alcohol, and my kids are a huge motivator. Like, I don't want to lie to my kids. I don't want to come home hungover or drunk. I don't want to be hungover the next morning and be like, "Oh, daddy just doesn't feel good." No, you're hungover. Like, don't lie to your kids about it, and they're so special. And all three of them are so special to me that it motivates me to stay healthy enough to be able to run the business and to be able to take care of them at the same time.
that's awesome, man. I want to spend like the rest of the time just talking about Summer Moon.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
So I want to know kind of why you chose this franchise,